All right. So, um, so where do I start? I guess, why am I doing this? As you guys were kind of listening. So I was just kind of seeing, kind of what the needs are as I've been kind of learning what services are offered. And then when the phone rings, someone say, I need help. Can you help me get through it? Get through my being stuck. I was, I said, sure. But after a while, you kind of, and especially talking with people over a period of time, you kind of realize, there was, I want to say it's almost, in some ways, it wasn't their fault that they're stuck. They just didn't lack in particular skill, or I know maybe some people are just kind of blindsided about what to do, because it seems like a lot of basic skills aren't necessarily specifically taught in schools anymore unless you're looking for them. Rumor has it they're trying to change that, but overall, it's not there right now. So, so that's why I chose to bring this on. So yes, my specialties is in Jesus. That's what I got a master's degree in. But obviously, I've had to learn a couple of things over time, and in some ways, I try to do everything but ministry before I came here, and I ended up doing ministry. So it took me 12 years to get an 8-year degree because I was doing other things for other years in college. So, however, I was very fond of computers, and that's why when I talked to others about what's available for computers, the information I got was, well, you sound more qualified than I am to teach the class. So the hope was to refer them to another organization, everyone to organization after each class. So for computers, I got a couple of organizations in mind if you want to learn more. But of course, that depends on what your needs are and what you're asking for. And of course, if you have any more questions afterwards, you could probably contact me like you have been contacting me before, and I could probably graciously answer your questions as you aren't too big of a crowd. I'm sure I can handle it. As far as this class, I'm hoping that it is more interactual. Again, I do have something to go through. I didn't get through half of it last time, which was completely fine. The person I had there, she was, she had a lot of questions and took up on my offer and and then pitching in. But I know when you get a bigger crowd, everyone's like, I'm probably the only person with that question. But that's okay. This is a beginning class. My hope is to not teach you everything about computers, but get out of whatever you're stuck with. So what it seems like, the impression I'm getting from you all today, it depends who's here and what, and I'm trying to guess some people were dragged here, but you know what? I forgot. It's on here because the thing resets itself at 5. That's why it's hot here. Should have pressed hold. Do that now in case it'll do that again. So sorry about the heat. It's just a hot day. But it's cooler in here than out there. So what's next? I think I said from the impression I'm getting from y'all, just you want to learn how to do computers well, if anything at all. But again, if you have any questions or like that doesn't make sense, just let me know. You know what? I didn't share the screen yet, but that's completely fine. There you go. All right. So why do I have this picture up here? I think because no one generally sits down and tells you how the internet works. It's not up there. Why not?
Well, that's why you're these guys. Yeah, no, these lovely faces are all mine. We, like I was talking, Sylvan?
Yes.
Okay, I want to make sure I pronounce it right. Like we speaking with him, they don't do life skills anymore in school. And I feel that it's very important, that's why during, conversations with him and the exchange of information. A lot of the classes that he has building up afterwards, are all classes that I think would be very beneficial, not only to my, generations here, but also exposing it. Kind of getting this down as, the first time run, these are the lessons, these are the kind of life skills there is, and being able to present that to the community. Saying, hey, look, we did our first round of classes, this is how well it went, he gets the experience, and he knows, exactly how to run this and everything else like that, and then we can sit there and I think bring in more youth and more, community that needs these, rather than just everybody being so standoffish. That's my cool hope out of this stuff. Yeah.
All right. So, very, very good. So now my TV got unplugged. That's what happened. I'm grateful that's all it was. TV should just settle eventually. But anyways, so why did I have this picture up here? Because you just kind of handed the internet and you kind of don't really know how it works. Basically, you almost can't get through a computer without being connected to the internet anymore. I mean, almost everything is connected. You can, for instance, as you may have heard, even electrical companies are connected to the internet, and then people hack into them, and then they don't work anymore. The interesting thing about how everything is connected is that, I mean, overall, anything that passes through, anyone who's actually looking to see what traffic is going on, anyone can read it. It's kind of like cars outside. In fact, I got to choose a YouTube video to kind of portray this. So like all the information that's sent from here, like for example, the information of YouTube video being sent, everything is sent in a little tiny pocket. It gets sent to the computer. And the computer tries to put it all together. If it doesn't get all the information, well, then the computer sends back to the server. So the server is the big box. It sends back to the server. So I didn't get all the information. I got lost somehow. Can you send it again? And then so it sends it again and just keeps doing that until you get all that, which is quite a fascinating thing because, that's a lot of, for this video, even though it's low quality, there's a lot of information being sent to make this happen. And they just keep improving it over the years to where they're getting HD television streaming and everyone in the world is streaming whatever they want, whenever they want, for like $10 a month or whatever it is now. So it's quite fascinating. What's interesting though now is that if you see the little at the top, HTTPS, without that S, it's not a secure connection, but with the S, it is a secure connection. And so, truth be told, I can care less if someone sees that I'm watching this video or not. But the internet said, well, you know what? It's just best practice to keep everything secure. So there's a secure code on top of those little packets that is being sent across to get all the information in. So why does that matter? Again, when you're using it, you kind of want to know, how is it working? And, how is it that someone all of a sudden stole my information? Or how does my boss know that I've been on some website, even though I didn't give him any information or I didn't use his web browser that he wants me to use or anything like that? Well, because any of the information going through, it can be traced overall, one way or another. Each packet is given a number. What you see is a makeshift picture of a firewall. So everything's supposed to go through a particular port. So that's part of the address. Everything is given an address. So it's kind of like everyone has a phone number. Everything is given an address. A lot of times a computer gets a new address every time it gets turned on. And they just, again, that's another way of doing it securely. And it's kind of amazing. Imagine you having a new phone number every time you turn on your phone and somehow everything gets transferred to your phone. But overall, that's how it works. So when the information, like for this video, even though it says send me to YouTube, YouTube has an IP address number that all the information gets sent to. So it's just kind of a name that gets attached to that IP address, kind of a street address. And this person so-and-so lives here. So So if you want to know, so what's the most secure way to run a computer? Well, just not have it connected to the internet at all. That's no one can go into your computer and watch what you're doing and connect to your files, because anytime when you connect your computer to the internet, well, potentially someone can go in and access it. But thankfully, pretty much everything is safe. Like even Chrome is one of the safest browsers out there. All of them are pretty much safe now, but Chrome is one of them where they don't allow people to use the software to find back doors to get into your computer. It can happen, especially if you go into a malicious site. As long as you don't download anything that you're unfamiliar with, or click on links, that's another issue. If you click on links that you don't recognize, you get an email saying you can get $1 million if you click on this link. Well, next thing you know, you got someone trying to gather your information, or they pretend to be someone else. I mean, it looks like maybe I don't know what would be professional site. It looks like an official PayPal site that you have, or maybe Venmo. That'd be something more people use today. An official Venmo site. There's someone coming in. Or not coming in. Hi, come on in. There's plenty of room. I am Sylvan. You're Wanda? Well, good to have you. Hi. So feel free to take some cookies or some water if you need more of any of those. Well, I don't have more cookies, but I do have more water. You can try to sit at the desk. I got 2 more tables in the back, or you can just pull up a chair anywhere you want. You're not too late. Should we get another chair? We can get another. Yeah. Yeah. I know you guys are on the end now. But what time are we at here? 20 after? That's just fine. So again, good to have you all. We were just talking about how the internet works. And so the long story short, you can ask more afterwards. But long story short, anyone can view any information that's being transferred. So if you say, I want to look at a website, well, that information gets sent across the internet. And then and just kind of like streetcars, anyone can see the streetcars that are going through. But luckily, most of the time, everything that you're asking for will be data protected. But we're trying to catch up and gather my thoughts here. Will be protected. You just got to make sure the things you're clicking on is safe. So make sure you don't download anything you don't need. Another thing about the links, if you're not really too sure about it, maybe like someone sends a Facebook post, or Facebook it, yeah, maybe a post or a direct message invite. There's a link there. A lot of times, if you just wait like a week, and if you're not sure what it is, if you just wait a week, and if it is important, it'll still work a week later. But if it's, if it is scam, a lot of times, just by putting them out, putting their information out, they're going to have to view, who they are and where all this information is going well. So they'll try to change their information quite a bit and not use the same links all the time. So even after 24 hours, that link probably will no longer work. That did happen with my dad. He got a link saying you need to update your billing information. So he updated his billing information and he showed me the link. I was like, well, that's not the company that's not a link to the company. So like for YouTube, even if you're not really sure, like this button, let's see if there's any buttons. This is probably all Java on here. These ones should go. Yeah, so like if you click on highlight a link for a video, you can see at the bottom of the screen of where the link will take you to. So it shows you it is a link within the browser of where you're going to. Any questions with that?
Somebody sent us something, they said we need to respond. We didn't even need a phone number.
All right. So, yeah, and sometimes the grammar will be wrong and things like that. So if there's something weird, looks off, it probably is. Just don't touch it. And again, if you really want to, just wait a week later. The next thing on the list I have is cookies. One reason why I chose cookies for the snack today is cookies for web browsing. Have you ever browsed the web and said, and then they ask you a question, do you want to accept cookies? And then you're probably given the impression like, what are cookies? I don't know what this is. That sounding familiar at all?
Yeah.
A little bit. So I did find one site, like it tells you how cookies work, and it also asks if it wants you to accept their cookies. So long story short, cookies are just a way for websites to store information on your computer. So like imagine that little picture of a web browser is your computer. You're asking, I want to go there. And so you go to the computer, and then it sends back a cookie saying, I'm going to store information here to use it for later. That way I don't have to store it on my server and fill up my own server with useless information that you may or may not care about. And then it just keeps talking back and forth as things go on. You can. So overall, cookies within themselves alone are harmless. Just like with any tool, you can use a hammer for good and you can use a hammer for bad. There's nothing wrong with cookies. This is one programming language and how they set a cookie, and this is what I'm familiar with. And so a cookie can be given a name, and then given its value, and then how long it's supposed to stay there, the path of where it's stored. I believe that's probably on the computer, and then the path of where of the website it belongs to, the cookie. So it has all that information there, and that's it. Again, it's pretty harmless. And where this really started to be useful is when you do shopping. Have you ever done some online shopping, and then you see a product and the button shows up, you want to add to cart, and you hit yes, and the next thing you know, you got a number 1 on your screen, and you got one thing added to your cart. Well, how does that happen? It happens through cookies. You didn't put any information on their server to let you know that you want that item. It's actually stored on your own computer. But if you go back to it a month later, it'll probably be gone because the time for it, whether it's like a week or 2, it expired. Your cart expired. That's where the metaphor for the cart disappears, because it's well, I guess if you did leave a cart alone for a week in a grocery store, someone would probably pick that up and put that away too. So, but however, if you sign in, like say Amazon, and you say, I want this item, they do store that on their own computer, and a month later that will still be there because you haven't purchased it yet, and it wants to make sure you didn't forget about it, and you probably still want it. So, in that sense, cookies are great. But people have gotten creative in the things you can do with cookies, and this will actually kind of explain it. So it talks about strictly necessary cookies. So these will talk about cookies that are necessary for the website to function and communicate with the systems. Like you notice there's a sign-in button here. So they need cookies for that sign-in button to work. They need to know who you are and what computer you're using, and that information to be stored on your computer, or else every time you upload a new page, it has to start all over. Who are you? What is the information of? What's your password? So you don't want to enter your password every time you want to update your information of just adding a TV to your shopping cart. You just you want to add it to the information you've already had. So
you're saying that when they're in touch with you, they keep the information they want.
Yeah, right. There's some of it they store on yours.
They have that. They have that.
Correct. And then so you notice so you got the strictly necessary cookies, and then you got the opt out of sell and sharing cookies. So you got the performance cookies, which it talks about, says all these cookies allow us to count visits and traffic sources so we could measure and improve the performance of our site. So that's one thing they found interesting is they want to know what pages you clicked on and what order you clicked on them, and possibly is there a way you can get your information quicker without having to click on so many pages, or do they see you circling in one area and seeing that you're kind of not getting the information you want? And so there are these data experts that just look to see how the site flows, what seems to be the trends, and what are the ways we can improve the website. Which to me, again, that's a great tool for cookies, but at the same time, people are tracking what you're doing. People in Europe got together and said, I don't think it's very ethical for people to be tracked in what they're doing, and all that information being stored on someone's computer without them knowing. Because again, when you hit that add a cart button, you didn't know a cookie was being sent to your computer to do that. But again, it has to do that in order for it to work. So it's interesting, again, the things you can do behind the scenes. Targeting cookies. So this one is for the ads. These cookies may be set through our site by advertising partners, and may be used by those companies to build a profile of interest to show you what's relevant to other sites. And so I talked about adding TVs to your site while you're searching Amazon, and then they're going on somebody's blog that has a whole bunch of ads in it, and then it starts showing you all these TVs, and it's like, well, how did all that happen? How is, I'm seeing one person smiling. Yeah, I've experienced that before. Well, again, there's cookies. Especially Google has figured that out. Google can just store cookies on here, and they can track where you've been and what you're interested in, and make sure ads are presented to you that are relevant to you, so that you click on them more and more money is being made, and hopefully everyone's living happy. But again, people ask the question, is that the ethical thing to do or not? And so Europe made it mandatory for websites that do have cookies to have these settings, to accept cookies or to not accept cookies. And so like this one, if I wanted to, I couldn't uncheck the needed cookies, but you can do the ones you want to opt out of, and then you hit confirm, and then you continue on with your day. It is kind of interesting. You have to do that with every website you're surfing, especially if you're doing some research. But again, all this is there. People try to figure out how can we do website well. The ad people didn't want to give up on not tracking what you're doing, because in some ways, like Facebook, it is designed to be addictive, because the more things you click on, the more ads that they show, the more money everybody makes. And so it's interesting, like people like Facebook or whatever else, Instagram, I know TikTok seems to be trending. I can only do so much. I'm not in high school anymore. But again, they're designed for you to use them. So it's just good to have some common sense about, when should I stop? Do I need a time limit? My own personal time limit? Do I is this the most productive thing I'm doing here, or am I just going down a rabbit hole that's not taking me anywhere? Because I get into it all the time. And I guess maybe sometimes I got preschoolers at home. I got a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. They want daddy's attention eventually. So I can't go too far down the rabbit hole. So any questions with cookies? Yeah, so there's good cookies, bad cookies, but overall you need cookies to get it to work. I did have someone say they wanted to mention what can they be deleted. It depends on the browser. It used to be done through Windows, but I think it's more so done through browsers. If you just type in, can I delete cookies? You can, but with the settings, I'm just going to go through it quickly. So you hit settings in the corner here, and then privacy and security, site settings. So this will just list site after site. And it starts with the most recent. So it just lists site after site. So these are all cookies stored on my computer, just to, again, understand what I'm doing and the things that are important. it starts with most visited, not most recent. It says data stored and name. I know this isn't really easy either. So it says most visited. So what's being most used, which is interesting. I didn't think I used that website that much, but apparently Bible Gateway is my most frequent thing. Or maybe it just has a lot of data stored on there. But there's a search bar. So if I want to go back to O'Reilly's, there it is. O'Reilly's, then it shows what cookies. Looks like there's 10 cookies from O'Reilly, and that's interesting. They're asking all these things. You want to, says block ads, allow background sync sound. It's interesting. Of all this is, I think ask default means they don't use that feature. Location, I guess that's another cookie thing. Sometimes a website might ask, can we use your location to find out where you are? You can see that here. So, and this is just one website. I mean, again, you saw that page after page of all these websites. Yes. There is a paper that kind of helped figure out the things we can talk about, and I'm kind of going through an outline, but I'm not planning to speak for an hour. I could talk a little bit more if there's something you really want to know. Actually, that's a good point. Is there something you really want to know or hoping to learn? Okay, which is fine. The impression I got from at the beginning was everyone was just wanting to know how to be more aware of how their device works. And so again, with computers, your smartphones, your tablets, whatever, cookies are stored on there to get people through their things. What's next on here? I think it's the backside. Email. So I figured, does everyone here where do I start? Has everyone here used email before? Right, and can you say you use it pretty well? Got it.
I have my smartphone for over a year.
Mhm.
Still trying to learn how to use it.
All right, and maybe remind me towards the end, maybe we could just walk through a smartphone. I did mention managing apps. I can pull that up here real quick too. But my impression was if you can use email well, you could probably do pretty much anything else on the computer pretty well, because you got to log in, you got to log out, you got to organize information, you got to search for information, you got to you can create your own emails, which then your word processing and adding documents and attachments and all those things. Can we cover all that in the next 30 minutes? Well, I guess we'll find out. But so the first thing about logging in, usually for an email account, you only have to log in once. Again, it depends how you have it set up. I love Google. Google's motto is to organize the world's information for the better. I'm paraphrasing here. So it sounded really cool at the beginning of the century. It sounds kind of creepy now because like you just saw, they're storing a bunch of personal information everywhere I've been and what I'm doing and where I'm at. For me, I like it because especially for me, it protects me. I don't know if you can subpoena my phone and say where I'm at and where I wasn't at, but if someone convinces me of being in the wrong place at the wrong time doing bad things, well, my phone will let me know where I actually was. So anyways, and also can figure out where I've been and track my miles. So I like being tracked. I guess hopefully a pastor doesn't have anything to hide, right? But anyone else, I'll let that be between you and whatever you want to do. So I was mentioning here, I like Google. So you usually have to sign into an account, ask for your email, and then it'll ask for your password. As far as passwords go back to my paper. You might see something on the bottom that says the difference between what's a weak, like the strength of your password, how strong it is. And if someone can get into it. Next page. Of course, that's not it. Of course, each person's going to have their own or each website is going to have their own idea of what a good password is, or maybe you have your own idea of what a good password is. I know banks are more wanting that long password with all the characters and numbers and symbols without any words. That's almost impossible to remember, and they want you to reset it every 6 months, which is very safe to do. But at the same time, I can't keep track of it all. I'll get to that later. I want to finish this before I get sidetracked. So what you see in the purple is, if you have something that's only 4 characters long and you only use numbers, basically if someone really wanted to hack into it, have a computer, just keep generating new numbers and seeing what works. It should take almost instantaneously for them to figure out what it is and to get into it. But however, if these numbers will get too high at the end. So if you notice, and in the yellow, if you have 12 characters that use a combination of numbers, uppercase and lowercase letters, and symbols, it might take 34,000 years to figure it out. So because of the number of combinations that are available and what it is. So unless the person has your exact password, they're not going to be able to get in. It's unless by chance they or somehow do hack into it. Banks, I'm sure, bank websites are trying to be hacked into all the time. I heard when PayPal was first being created, that was a new and novel idea of sending money through the internet. Like again, if you just have the right login and the right password, you have someone access to someone's financial information. And so, yeah, when they were trying that, they found very quickly they needed to have a strong security foundation so that people don't get hacked. And again, this was before the internet was done, where everything was done securely. So I'm sure banks know that very well now of what they can do and can't do, of what is a good practice and what is not a good practice for websites. So even though it might be painful to have a long password that you can't remember, if you can figure out a way to do it, write it down on a piece of paper is probably the most secure. My favorite is to do a third-party application, so like RoboForm. Another link, another suggestion was called Bitwarden. I guess this is apparently according to those who are actually keeping track of all this. Bitwarden is fantastic. It's free to use from what I can tell. Usually for the basic people, it's free to use. And they keep wanting to sell it to you, but if you look under personal and the basic plan is free, it says unlimited devices, always free. So I don't know if there's a number of how many things you can store. Sometimes people might have a limit and then they want you to pay $1 a month or $10 a year or something. Because after all, someone is doing the work of making sure information is protected. But usually organizations try to make sure the businesses pay for that and not the private people. And so this is something you can download on your computer and integrate it into your web browser and making sure that all works. Your web browser many times will ask, do you want to store your information with us? You can do that too. Just know that it's very convenient. Everything's all there with you. But just know that that's one less level of security you have, one less password you have to get into. Like, for example, if someone knows my email address and I store my passwords with my email address, well, then they would have access to everything, and including if you had your banking information stored on with your email address. Well, then again, anyone who has access to your email now has access to your banking information, which can be a little frightening. So by having a third party, someone else store your information of passwords, you're creating another level of security where again, someone who has your email address cannot get into your banking information and everything else that you can log into. Fair enough. I would kind of want to demonstrate it, but then you guys will see all my personal information. All right. So
well, what should I use now for a password? And she says, well, don't you use Sandy? Yeah, if there's a lens.
right. All right. Yeah, whatever works for you. And sometimes I try to switch the letters, like the vowels, to mean something else, like replace an O with a 0 or an E with a 3. And so it kind of looks like it says something, or an S with a $sign, but it's actually, you know, it's not. Okay, so hypothetically, you logged onto your email account and you're ready to go. Gmail. So I did, though, just subscribe to some random sites so it has something in my inbox to work with. And so, of course, you can do the search box. Maybe I just want to see what all the Vox newsletters or things they want to present to me. And you can look that up. I tend to use it for receipts that I can't seem to find. Want to know when I purchased, and where's that tracking number, because I don't know if that package should be here by now for some reason. See what's going on with that package. That'll be great. But
Have you heard of a statistic, or can anybody share what else would it be online? I haven't been curious about that. It's like shopping and research.
like, you mean like for where they use that information for?
Yeah, well, what do you think of the internet?
With that, oh, you mean generally? What do people do? Yeah, what do people use it for? Well, I guess it depends who you ask and what you're using it for. I guess personally, I notice I tend to use computer for business purposes, and then my phones for personal use. It's interesting. People say millennials and older want to do their banking on a laptop, and anyone younger than that is completely fine with doing almost everything on their iPad. They probably do homework if they could, but the best you could do is multiple choice on here, because or else typing paragraphs with your 2 fingers would be quite daunting. I know some people are. That's pretty much what people do when they're texting for a half hour, but like just make a phone call. But times have changed. People would rather text than call. Even businesses, it's quite interesting. So that's why a little chat box comes up for customer service help, because it's just easier and people can handle your issue a little bit more fluently, and they don't have to hire as many people to get the customers happy. So, but what do I do? Maybe I'll just go ahead and switch to here. Like I said, there's no wrong answer or wrong question. Just got to figure out how to share my screen. Stop sharing screen.
What's your learning experience for this class?
Recording in progress.
Okay. I see. It's not going to let me completely mute it. Stop share. There's the button. Right. Share. Share. Remember trying to do all this before screen. There it is. Before I did this. And so I'll deal with this echo. You see it on the screen now. Great. So what are people usually using? I think I did create a page of some of the most popular apps. My favorite is Reddit. Reddit I find is great for researching, whether for hobbies or for information, even for professional use. There's all kinds of things, and it's just interesting how when you get a bunch of people and together who have the same common interests, and you get a really fine group where you get, I tend to get like 30 answers per question. You see things on a different perspective. Yes, in some ways you can see other people's drama. But and sometimes people could say they are here for the drama. So like here's the popular things, what's going on. So the news is shooting. So the shooting that happened. I don't remember when it happened. My wife didn't want to learn any more about it, so we turned off the TV. What else is trending on here? I guess Greta and her words is trending. I guess stupid things people are doing on Twitter is usually what that one's for. World news. Another question is, am I overacting? So a lot of times when people are posting things on the internet, especially looking for questions, they're oftentimes looking for affirmation that they are right, rather than actually looking for new information, which is kind of interesting. So like this sub of, am I overreacting? Let's see. My husband went to a bachelor party where escorts stayed at the villa. Was that an okay thing for my husband to do, or is that okay because it's a bachelor party? You know, so you got 200 plus comments on here. Not necessarily 200 people, because someone can make 10 comments, replies within there. If you ask me, like I said, after 50, it's just, I don't know why people even bother answering, because who's gonna read all those comments? But it's interesting. I mean, you could definitely sort them by. So the top one will be the best answer. Says blow the best man out of the water. That's the most popular one. The most controversial one, of course, they give a description, but usually, it's someone's long life story here. Like I said, who has time for all this? Well, I eventually you get the same drama over and over, and you don't get that. Like I've heard this story before. The more controversial one is that is controversial, right? Yeah. This is why guys have a rule about girl trips and bachelor trips. They're not appropriate for married people. So I guess 50% people say that's a good rule, and 50% of the people say that is not a good rule. So it's interesting. So, like I said, a lot of it is, it's up to the people and what they think. So I like Reddit. Of course, Bing is another search. Spotify I use for music. So to me, it's great. You can listen to anything and everything you want for like $10 or so, depending on how many people are on the account. For $10, if you were to buy all that music, you'd probably spend a whole lot more than $10. Where do we go? The gallery, your contacts, Messenger. That's in case if someone messaged me through Facebook or Instagram. Snapchat is supposed to be the next thing. Truth be told, I mean, there's a lot of shady things you can do on a phone, and that's why some people like technology is bad, and some people say technology is just fine. It all depends how you use it, but it seems to be used more for bad than for good. But again, it depends what you want to do with it and what you want your own life to get involved in. Truth be told, Snapchat was originally created so people could send nudes between each other, and it would disappear once they've seen it. Because most things, that's our cat feeder over there. He's stopping by to feed the cats. So, but anyways, so Snapchat, you can send anything you want and disappear after you look at it, and you don't have to worry about anyone. No. Well, I mean, I guess you could ask, what is the program, the business of Snapchat knows. The cookies. Well, you do have to have an account to use it. So it is stored on their server, on the Snapchat server, and it's waiting to go to yours until it's finally sent. And then once you finally view it, it's designed to be deleted afterwards. Before I got married, I used it to try to have conversation with people, because there are some people that say I only use Snapchat. But I was like, this is stupid. I can't remember what people said last time I clicked on it, because I moved to another app while I'm waiting for the response. And what they were talking about is gone. So they say yes, and I have no idea what they're saying yes to. So anyways, but a lot of people like Snapchat because, you know, it's a little more hidden, and it's not an app that's frequently used, and it tends to be used more among the younger generation. Truth be told, I added this just for a photo to take a picture of, to show that, you know, my church is one app among all these others. So I think that's why you kind of got a picture of a ghost. You know, you can do, you can ghost people. Your comments ghost people by it disappearing. So Instagram, it's primarily based on pictures. People can send pictures amongst each other. I notice a lot of times it's just pictures of what people are doing with their day. It's kind of like Facebook is kind of Instagram integrated some of Instagram's things, such as the story at the top. Yeah, that has to be a picture. Where Facebook you can just post text, and you know you get. You know, I fed the cats today. And they're the whole world can know, or your friends. You get to choose what settings of who you want to see the information. You know, I fed the cats today. But with Instagram, it has to be a picture. Your own created picture. So obviously, being a pastor, I have my favorite Bible study app. It's more of a Bible reader app for me. Facebook is my favorite, probably because I'm old. Like I said, I just put text instead of doing a picture for everything, but it seems like now everything is a picture. The interesting thing is if you do your own picture, a lot of times it is more original. You know, you can copy and paste someone else's text and put it on your own profile and make it sound like you're doing all these kinds of things or have all these great things to say. I think that's why some people don't like Facebook. I'm sure you've seen it was originally emails, and then it became Facebook posts, and I'm sure there's other things now. Like copy this message and it'll fix what's wrong with not seeing your friends on Facebook or something like that. Or if you copy this message and you send it 100 times, you know, for every time you copy it, someone will donate $1,000 to some organization or something like that. Doesn't happen. And so I guess you could say the stupid posts tend to fade away if it has to be a picture. And then, but a lot of it, I like the groups of catching up with people. Like how you found out about this program is because there was a post on the Corning community page. So I like that, just to know what's going on in the community. Yeah, there's a Corning community page on Facebook. What's going on in Corning? Yeah, and I've noticed it's kind of a small group. I think there's in Corning there's a language barrier issue with it. You know, if you don't read or speak English, well, then that website is probably not going to have any help for you because everything is done in English. You almost need a website or a community group that's done in Spanish. So I'm not a part of the Spanish-speaking community, so and I don't have a Spanish speaker part of my church, so I have a hard time integrating what's going on over there and that part of the Corning community into our church. But nevertheless, they're always, of course, welcome. But it's interesting how a different language, you're dealing with a whole other world, if you will, in your own community, or two separate communities in the same town. I'll keep going here, and I might just finish with this since it seems like you guys are interested in this. YouTube is... I notice I like it because one thing you don't have to read. All right, everything else you almost have to read. You're reading someone else's posts, you're reading someone else's comments. But YouTube, it's more a lot of times talking heads or people posting about how great their own life is. It's kind of, it's kind of, I could say it's kind of like Instagram, but that's more progress. I guess what I get tired of is everything's all political. So it's almost, can I just read about, you know, I don't know, what's trending in computers? Maybe PC Mag does have something. But I know almost everything is political. I guess that's why some people don't like Facebook anymore, because people tend to post political stuff on there where, again, Instagram, it's more your own content. So unless you're at a political rally, you're probably not, or you subscribe to an organization that is political, you're not getting political information through Instagram. Interesting concept. IV Cam, that's what I use for video live streaming for Sunday worship. Of course, Clock, that must have been just a filler. Maps, of course, to get to where I go. Again, Gmail is my favorite program. Apple Music is just another thing I put on here. It's basically another thing like Spotify. But you, huh? Oh, Gmail. Yes. Apple Music's like Spotify, but you can download music. Audible, that one I really like, especially since I commute between Willows and Corning a lot. You can do audiobooks and it's, of course, linked with Amazon. And so it is not free. You might get a couple free books. What's interesting is if you do have Spotify, Spotify does audiobooks now. I guess you're limited to 15 hours a month, but you can do audiobooks, which I have found one great audiobook. It's not going to let me do it. But yeah, that is a subject now, audiobooks. So what audiobooks? I'm going through the book, The Pastor. For me, it's a great devotional as a pastor to see what other pastors have done in terms of good ministry work. So where am I doing now? I think UPS, everything else is kind of filling. Widoku, again, that was a game I didn't have to read, and it can just kind of get there easily. You just throw some wood on there. And it's like Tetris, but it's probably gonna. I don't even know if it's really available anymore. It's got to do an update. I haven't done it so long. It's not going to let me do it though. Basically, you just there you go. Yeah, it's like Tetris. You get a row or a block in. Oh, and then, but it's also like Sudoku, or you got the 9 boxes in a square. So you get 9 boxes in a row or 9 boxes in a square. So anyways, and then for my goal on this one is to get 8 gems, and then you completed the level. And of course, you see there's ads in this too. So that's how they make their money. They show ads for me as I'm playing it. We're pretty much up the hour. Anything else on here? We talked about app management. Of course, you can just click on it, know a little bit more. Hit the eye for more information about it. What it can use with your phone, what permissions it has, where it can go. But I think I'll go ahead and stop sharing this. I remember how. There we go. Yeah. Of course, with your phones, you want to clear out your background apps often. Sometimes it might drain your battery a little bit, maybe even clear out your notifications, because they are running. And also check your web browser. As the Chrome web browser will just keep adding more tabs as you keep clicking on links, and the next thing you know, you have 100 tabs of websites your phone is trying to store that you really don't need. Yeah. So, any questions with that? Hopefully you're a little bit wiser and smarter coming out of this. And I'll go ahead and close this out. Next week is about families. I'm hoping to have a special guest for that one to come in. I haven't gotten confirmation for that one yet. For any of the classes, if you are you think you know someone that might be interested in being a guest speaker for that, go ahead and let me know because I'd be interested. Again, I found some people, but then I was like, you'd be great at this. I just need an hour of your time, and you get to promote your business. And they're kind of on the fence about what this is because, like you mentioned before, this is something new, and people are, I'm sure, in the community are like, what is this? Especially if it's being recorded. But I mean, like I said, everything's being recorded a lot of times, one way or another. So anyway.